The ache began in the library stacks. It was a physical pain, a dull throb behind Leo's eyes as he stared at the infinite parade of spines, each one a universe of facts he did not know, arguments he could not remember, beauty he would forget. He was 24, and his mind felt like a sieve. He forgot birthdays, the endings of books he'd just read, the name of the barista he saw every day. Conversations evaporated. Sunsets faded not just from the sky, but from his mind's eye within hours. It wasn't just inconvenient. It felt like a spiritual hemorrhage. He was losing himself, his life dissolving into a vague, watercolor wash of stuff that probably happened. How could you build a life? He thought. On foundations of forgetting? So he declared war. His apartment became a cathedral to retention. Whiteboards covered the walls, a chaotic mosaic of timelines, formulas, and foreign vocabulary. He adopted the memory palace technique, pacing his rooms, placing historical dates on his sofa and chemical elements in his cereal box. He consumed flashcards like a man starving, digital apps beeping reminders at him every hour. He ate the recommended fish, slept the perfect 8 hours, and meditated to clear the cache. For a while, it worked. He could recite the kings of England in order. He remembered pi to 50 digits. He never forgot a grocery list. And yet the ache deepened, because he could now remember the data of his life, but not the life itself. He could tell you the date of his grandmother's birthday dinner, the restaurant's name, the calorie count of the cake, but the sound of her laugh, the way the candlelight caught the tear in her eye when they sang, the specific warm weight of her hand on his, those were ghostly, insubstantial. He had captured the map, but the territory was slipping away. His breaking point came on a Tuesday. He met an old friend, Maya, for coffee. He'd prepared. He'd reviewed his Maya file, her job, her dog's name, her recent trip to Portugal. The conversation was fluent, factually perfect. As she left, she hugged him and said, "It's so good to talk to you. Leo, you always make me feel like you're really here." He walked home cold to his bones. He had never felt less here. He was a curator of a museum nobody visited, least of all himself. Desperate. He did the one thing his efficiency systems hadn't accounted for. He got lost. He drove out of the city. Without a map or a podcast into the rolling, green hills he usually ignored. His car sputtered and died on a lonely lane, edged by an old mossy stone wall. The only sign of life was a rusted gate and a faint path leading into a woodland. Following it, he emerged into a clearing that held his breath captive. It wasn't a formal garden, but a wild, whispering tapestry. A chaotic, glorious explosion of flowers he couldn't name tumbled over each other. A gnarled apple tree heavy with blossom stood sentinel. The air hummed with bees and the scent of damp earth and nectar. And in the center, kneeling in the soil, was an old woman. She wore muddy boots and a wide-brimmed hat, and her hands, deep in the earth, moved with a tender, deliberate certainty. "You look," she said without looking up, "like a man who's trying to drink the ocean." Her name was Ilara. She was the keeper of this place. A forgotten corner of land she tended not for produce, but for memory. Leo, baffled by her statement and the strange peace of the place, found himself confessing everything. His war on forgetting, his whiteboards, his profound, chilling fear of dissolution. Ilara listened, her face a landscape of gentle wrinkles. She wiped her hands on her trousers and stood. "Come," she said. She didn't teach him a technique. She showed him her garden. "This," she said, pointing to a vibrant patch of purple sage, "is the summer my son learned to walk. He fell here a dozen times. The smell of crushed sage brings back the weight of him in my arms, the triumph in his muddy smile." She moved to the old apple tree. "This bark, this specific texture under my palm, is the feeling of waiting for my love to return from war. I wore a smooth patch right here, just worrying it." She led him to a simple, flat stone by a little pond. "This is where I sat when my mother died. The cold of this stone seeped into me. I come and sit on that cold when I need to remember her courage. Not the fact of it, the feel of it." Leo was stunned. "You have a memory palace? Made of real things?" "No," Ilara corrected softly. "A memory palace is a warehouse. This is a living system. I don't store memories here. I grow them. And more importantly, I let them die," she explained. She never fought to remember everything. She fought only to be fully present in a moment, to touch, to smell, to listen, to feel with an almost painful intensity. She would then connect that moment, that feeling, to something in the garden, a plant, a stone, the quality of light through a particular branch. The memory wasn't a data point. It was a seed. And like all seeds, some took root and grew into perennial blooms, returning every year with that scent, that color. Others were annuals, bright, beautiful, and gone after a season, making space for new growth. You're trying to remember the story of your life, she said. But life isn't a story. It's a season. It's weather. You don't remember the humidity of a long-gone August afternoon by writing it down. You remember it when the air feels just so. And it all comes back, the cicadas, the taste of lemonade, the boredom that felt infinite. You have to let your senses be the librarians, and you have to trust them. She gave him a seed. Plant this. It's for something you want to remember, not with your mind, but with your blood. He balked. What single moment could he choose? He went back to the city, the seed in his pocket a tiny, terrifying weight. His whiteboards now looked like madness, the frantic scribblings of a ghost. He ignored them. Days later, walking home in a dreary rain, he saw a child in a yellow raincoat jumping in a puddle with pure, unadulterated joy. The splash, the squeal, the shocking yellow against the gray. And suddenly he was 6 years old. He wasn't remembering being 6. He was 6. The taste of wet wool from his own forgotten coat. The thrilling disobedience of soaked socks. His mother's mock-annoyed shout from the doorway that was really a laugh. It flooded him, not as information, but as a resurrection. It lasted 3 seconds. It was more real than any fact on his walls. He wept on the sidewalk. He returned to Ilara's garden every weekend. He planted his seed for that rainy day memory. He stopped taking photos and started collecting impressions. The feeling of cool marble under his bare feet at dawn. The exact sound of his best friend's snort laugh. The way steam rose from his coffee cup in a specific spiral, one cold, hopeful morning. He associated them not with loci in his apartment, but with the feel of bark, the scent of mint, the angle of autumn light. He let go. He allowed himself to forget movie plots, news headlines, the capital of Bolivia. In their place, something miraculous began to happen. His mind, freed from the tyranny of hoarding, began to weave. The smell of rain on hot pavement would bring back not just one moment, but a symphony, a childhood storm, a first kiss under an awning, a peaceful walk with his father. Memories were no longer isolated files. They were echoes of each other, connected by emotion, by sense, by a deeper, more profound pattern. He realized he was not building an archive. He was composing a song, and the notes were the moments he had fully lived. Years passed. Leo's apartment cleared of whiteboards. In their place were a stone from Ilara's garden, a shell from a significant beach, a pressed flower. His mind felt not like a fortress, but like a windswept field, vast, alive and beautifully untamed. When Ilara died, he was asked to speak at her gathering in the garden. He stood by the apple tree, his hand on the bark she had worn smooth. "She taught me," he said, his voice steady, "that we don't remember everything. And that is the greatest mercy and the greatest art. We remember what matters. Not what matters to the world, but what matters to the soul. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible librarian. The heart is the true keeper of the garden." He touched the tree. "I don't remember every word Ilara ever said to me. But when I touch this bark, I remember what it feels like to be known. When I smell sage after rain, I remember what it is to be unafraid of time. When I see a seed, I remember that some of the most important things begin small and buried." He looked at the faces blurred by his tears. "You want to remember everything? Then stop trying to capture the water. Become the soil. Be rich, be dark, be present. Feel everything. The joy, the grief, the boring Tuesday afternoon sun. Feel it so completely that when the universe, in its kindness, sends an echo of that feeling back to you, a scent, a sound, a quality of light, your entire being vibrates with the memory of a life lived, not recorded. Don't build a memory palace. Plant a garden, tend it. Let things bloom, let things die, and trust, with every fiber of your being, that the flowers that return will be the ones you truly need. He finished. A breeze rustled the apple blossoms, carrying a shower of petals over the gathering. In that moment, feeling the sun on his neck and the profound, living silence of the garden, Leo knew he would never forget this. Not the facts of it, but the truth of it. It was already part of the soil of him, and that was everything.